The line between fact and fiction in novels can be somewhat blurred, but according to author Ian Alexander, City of Sharks is a work of fiction based on real events to protect the guilty. Set in Perth, it takes you to a future where a theme of drugs, scandals, and corruption sets the stage for a dark look into politics. With Ian's own history of politics and town planning, we chat to him to see how much of his fictional masterpiece is true and where or who has inspired his works.
It's a book about corruption in politics, basically, and how party donors often influence the way in which government money is spent.
The book's written as a fictional tale, but is it actually based on people and experiences that you've had?
Well, it's inspired by those experiences, not really based on them. But in the story about Fremantle and it's being overcome by or threatened by huge high-rise development, some will see parallels in what's happening around the city right now.
So tell us about your own personal experiences in politics.
Well, I was in the Perth City Council and then state government at the time of the whole WA Inc. saga, which had links into the Perth City Council and right across Perth. And what I saw of WA Inc. when I was in Parliament was a government running away as fast as it could from the consequences of their deals and the actions that were taken, spending government money in certain ways to favour certain interests. And many people in the party, Labor Party at the time, not wanting to know about that at all, and being sort of ignorance is bliss situation. Well, when it all came to the fore in the Royal Commission, it showed that the links went far and wide within the party, particularly at the cabinet level. And that's really what I was the basis of my decision to write a book, and also to show that this sort of thing is not confined to one party or the other. It seems to be right across the board in politics.
Do you think Brian Burke's government has actually put a dark cloud over all politicians now?
Well, it's a long time ago now, 30 years, but Brian Burke, when he's interviewed, denies that anything was done wrong, but I think a lot of people see that differently, and that maybe they're a little bit more careful about making their decisions as to where to spend government money and not favouring party donors in quite such an explicit way. But I believe that people are much more cynical about politics now than they were at the time, and I guess WA Inc. contributed to that.
What drove you to write such a fictional expose?
Well, I wanted to get the message out about corruption in politics to a wider audience, and I wanted to tell the story in engaging a way as I could, so I invented characters and situations that hopefully make the story more readable, and it's not just a turgid account of, this happens and that happens and therefore we've got to do this. I didn't want to be preaching to people. I wanted to try and get the message across in an entertaining way.
And in your book, there's some interesting things about town planning, about buildings and infrastructure, light rail systems. It's all set in the future. Is this something that you've drawn off experience with as well?
Well, there was a lot of talk about light rail, for instance, which makes a cameo appearance in the book. At the time I was in Parliament, and we actually set up a group that tried to push that solution, but as you know, 30 years on, there's still no light rail in Perth, and while there's plenty of plans for extending the existing rail system, in Metronet still no place for light rail, it seems. And I'd like to think that the book in some way or another might push that cause along a little bit.
So the book you want for the public to see what really goes on, or do you want to send a message to your former co-workers?
Well, I guess both. I'd like to see the public more aware of these things, and maybe they'll bring pressure on their representatives to be a little bit more open, and if they were more open and transparent as they claim, then I don't think we'd see quite such blatant corruption going on.
It's a great book, Ian. Where can readers purchase a copy from?
Thanks, Laura. Well, they can get copies online through Amazon or through Ex Libris, the publishers. That's a big X with Libris after it. And we are having a launch at the National Hotel in Fremantle, Wednesday, July the 11th at 7:30, and copies will be available for sale there.
And we'll be signing copies there, Ian?
Oh, if in demand, I will be, sure.
What a fantastic book. This has been Laura for Undercurrent.